Look at this beautiful piece of acacia. Let's turn this one into another charcuterie board. Stay tuned for the full video. All right, so you got your solid piece of board ready. Now you need to get it cut into two pieces, so you can flip it around for each exposed edge. Most people come at this and just try and hit the center, but depending on the curvature of the wood, you may want to go one side to the other a little bit more, but purely up to you. Now you're going to want to rip that board straight down the line that you traced, wherever that may be. I've tried pretty much every tool out there to do this, especially before I had a track saw, but man, since I've had the track saw, that's definitely been the easiest way to do this. But completely understand not everybody has one, so whatever you use, just be careful, especially at the end, so you don't create any kind of blowout on the wood. Once I have the two pieces, now I can set them in my form and kind of determine, do I still need to trim it to give myself a little bit more room for the epoxy river, or maybe it's perfect. So, you'll make that adjustment as needed, as the look you're looking for, whatever it may be. All right, so I'm including this just to kind of show you the next step, getting the two different boards set up in my form, ready to pour, and then also including the way I do it, I try and pour multiple boards at once. This form I have can actually do 3 boards. So if you're considering doing a lot of these, this would be a great time-saving investment to make. All right, so now we're going to mix the epoxy, and I'm sure if you've watched any videos regarding epoxy pours or whatever, you see people mostly using paddle mixers hooked to drills and stuff. If I was mixing 5 gallons or maybe even 10 gallons of epoxy at once, I would do that. But I've found it to be a better result when I hand mix it. Whenever I'm doing, 20 ounces, 30 ounces, 40 ounces, it just comes out looking cleaner. So you just want to mix it for 2 minutes until it's clear. Pretty self-explanatory on mixing the color. The only thing you can do is make sure that you're not left with any clumps in there. You can hold up your mixing cup to a light or out in the sun, and normally those clumps you can see right in the middle through the bottom or something like that. So this board, just like most of the other charcuterie river boards I do, is a 2-stage pour. It's a clear over color. So the color's on the bottom, and I try and do about 50-50, but also I do whatever I can not to pour more than 3/4 of an inch in thickness for each coat. Again, I'm going to reference back one of the other videos I've done, which you can look back and see on actually a good time to mix your design in the color, right, to come out with the design. I've normally found with the epoxy that I use, it's about 25 to 30 minutes before it starts to stiffen up, and actually whatever design you mix will actually stay in place. All right, so now we're pouring our clear second coat, and at this point the board has been curing for just about 24 hours, and that's the goal that you want to set to pour the second coat on top of it for. If you happen to go longer than that, you're going to want to sand a little bit, lightly rough up the bottom coat so the top coat adheres to it correctly. All right, so now it's time to start trimming up the sides, and at this point I'm only going to trim the long sides just so I can get it through the planer nice and smooth, and then I'll come back later and trim up the ends. So the biggest thing to remember when you're planing your epoxy boards is a little bit of adjustment on the planer for sure keeps your board safe. If you try and dig too deep, you could have chip out, you could have some deep scratches, anything can happen. So it'll take a while, but trust me, it'll be worth it. Just take your time, and little micro adjustments on the blade when you're planing your boards. Just a quick overview of the sanding process that I use on the charcuterie boards to get the best finish on the wood, at the same time getting the clearest finish on the epoxy. because I do the two-stage pours for the 3D effect, so it's really crucial to get that as glass-like as possible. So right out of the planer, I always start off with a normal sanding disc, 180 grit. That gets all the surface scratches out from the planer, any marks it might have left, and starts me off with a semi-smooth surface. Then I move over to the Mirka mesh sanding disc, and I always start off with 220. Then I move over to 320, 400, 500, and then that's it for the wood piece of it. Now the rest of the mesh sanding discs I only do on the epoxy part to keep on trying to work out any of the scratches that still may exist. So then on just the epoxy, I move to a 600, an 800, and 1,000. Now obviously you're gonna get some of the wood in there, but your wood's good, definitely good sanded up to 500. Then again on the epoxy part, I move over to the Mirka polishing pads, and I go with 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, then 4,000. All of these are all done as a dry sand, no wet sanding. The only place water comes in handy is when I'm in between the different sanding steps, wiping the board down, airing it off just to get any of the sanding dust off the board, so you're not grinding it back into the board throughout your steps.
All right, now you know the overview of the sanding process, and you know, I've recorded every single piece of the sanding process on this board and all my boards, but I'm gonna speed it up and probably delete a lot of it just because it's, let's be honest, it's horrible video. What I will say is just be patient at this process. It's very repetitious, it takes a long time. Also, make sure and check your pad throughout the sanding, not your pad, but your sanding disc throughout the process, and make sure it's not getting clumped up with material. All you're doing is fighting yourself if you don't take care of that, because you're taking the material that you sanded off and you're just mashing it right back into the board again, and you're just going to create more scratches, and it's just going to be, like I said, a fight till the end. You're going to be fixing areas that you know you already did. So just make sure the disc stays clean, either by airing it out, taking the disc off, you know, and rolling it up to get all the clumps out, whatever you need to do, or whatever works best for you. So this is just showing you the first sanding step on the color side, and then the last sanding step on the color side. And you can see the difference already, especially once you see me wet it down, which kind of emulates the look and the shine on it once you put your finish on it. Now remember, we're still going to be using the polishing pad, so it's only going to get better from here. Same thing here, except now we're on the clear side, so you can really see the difference once you see me wet it down here. All right, so now we're on to polishing, and if you can't tell, I've switched tools on this. It just makes it easier for me. I have a car polisher, it's a variable speed. It works perfect on this, and I don't need to have dust, you know, collection set up for the polishing piece of it, because it really doesn't make any dust. So anyways, it doesn't mean that you need to have a separate tool for the polishing piece of it. This is just what I do. Now it's time to buff. And you know, since I started doing these charcuterie boards, I've used a couple different products. Lolio is the latest one I've used and had the best results. I've been using it for the longest time. It's a two-part mix, but the hardener is just a little bit additive in it just to give it some hardening, and you don't even need to use it, to be honest. You wipe it on pretty generously and let it sit for about 15 minutes and buff off any excess. And you're welcome to add multiple coats as well. I picked this up from my local wood supplier that I get all my material from, so I'll put a link for that in my video description, and he ships anywhere.
If you're interested in just purchasing one of my boards, my email will be in the description below. But just know that I have boards already done in stock in different colors and different species of wood. Plus I can do anything custom, even beyond the boards, tables, coffee tables, whatever you're looking for. Just shoot me an email. I hope you enjoyed the video and you found it helpful. If this is something you're looking to start doing, you know, hopefully the videos get better as time goes on. I'm pretty new to the video piece of it, but I've been doing the boards for quite a while. So please, you know, let me know if you have any questions. Please leave any comments. And also my email address will be in the description below. If you're looking to just purchase one of these boards, I have quite a bit of inventory. Or if you're looking for something custom, even beyond a charcuterie board, coffee table, you know, whatever you can think of, different species of wood, different colors, I can help you out. Thanks again for watching.